Hi second graders, we are here with our Wednesday math video, and we are going to be adding some numbers together using a tens and ones chart in order to determine whether we need to regroup, doing that group, scoop, and trade, or we don't have to do that. So I wanted to get started with a little story that I wanted to share with you.
Before you start your story, can I say something?
Sure.
The parents are going to be really happy that we made it to this video because the version Miss Marquardt and I are about to teach you is the same version your parents learned when they were kids.
But more fun.
Yeah, but more fun because we have a fun story to go with it. But this is also the method we like to call the old school method of adding with regrouping. So your parents are going to be like, finally, a way to add that I understand. But we're going to tell you a cute story also. So,
all right.
Proceed.
So I have a little story to tell you about some neighbors, okay? And the neighbors, you're probably gonna guess, are tens and ones. And what's really cool about the tens and ones is that they live in a townhome. And if you've ever seen townhomes before, they are right next to each other and they share a wall. And some of them are even like 3 stories high. So I'm gonna give them a little roof up here. And I'm gonna let you know, this is where Mr. Tens lives. He lives right next to Mr. Ones. And lots of stories in their house. This is the attic up here. And they have this little joint area down here. Now let me tell you about Mr. Tens and Mr. Ones.
Okay.
Mr. Tens is simply the nicest guy you will ever meet, all right? Ones likes to have friends over all the time, okay? But the problem is their house is only so big.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, Ones throws a party and has some friends over, and they don't all fit. They don't have enough beds, there's not enough room at the dining room table for everyone to eat. And so they often go over to Mr. Tens' house and they stay there instead.
Yeah.
Now, even though Mr. Tens is a super nice guy, he only allows people to come over from Mr. One's house in groups of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can't go by yourself. You can't go in like a group of 3 or a group of 6. You are only allowed to go to Mr. Tens' house if you are coming in a group of 10.
Wow.
That's it.
Okay.
Pretty strict rules, but a super nice guy. So I want to show you what this might look like with a problem that's at the top of our worksheet today. And I think, without looking back, that the problem is actually the number 35 plus 7.
Okay.
All right? Now, I want you to take a look. I have organized my numbers very carefully. I have made sure that the 3 from the number 35 is in the tens house where it belongs. The 5 is in the ones house. And then my second number 7, because it's a single digit number, always belongs in the ones house. Okay, we can't put it over here. We don't want it in the middle. It needs to be nice and organized.
Okay.
Now, if we're trying to solve this problem, 35 plus 7, we need to take a look at the ones house first.
Okay.
And that is so important. We always start with the ones house first. Okay? That's where the party's at. That's where all the people are. We need to figure out how many people are there. So, Mrs. Grant, I remember you having a really awesome strategy for figuring out how to count those ones and what to do.
Well, as you know from the beginning of the school year, my favorite basic addition strategy is counting on. So I like to start with 7 in my head, the bigger number of the 2, and then count 5 more. So if I have 7 in my head, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So when I add these 2 numbers together, I get an answer of 12. And this is a step that we want you guys to do every single time you do addition, no matter what, okay? You're going to write what we call a little caret, which kind of looks like an arrow pointing outwards. That's going to point to the answer of your super simple addition problem 7 plus 5. 7 plus 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh yeah, it was 12. I'm gonna write that answer right here, right outside. Okay. And then you need to help me figure out where to put the 2 and where to put the 1.
Okay.
Now I'm confused.
So this is the problem. The ones just threw a party and there are 12 people over. And we can't let that happen. As soon as the party gets to 10 or more, we need to send people next door to Mr. 10's house. Remember, super nice guy. He'll let you come over, but only in groups of 10. All right. So if we take a look at the number 12, I'm noticing that 12 is actually made up of a group of 10 and 2 ones.
Yep.
Well, we can separate the number 12 and we can say, all right, well, if there are only 2 ones in the number 12, then they can stay in the one's house.
Okay.
The ones get to stay in the one's house, but that group of 10, because the party got too big, we're gonna send them next door to Mr. 10's house. But he's got another rule.
What is it?
Because he doesn't really want visitors in his house. They have to stay in the attic.
Oh. So he has room for 10 people in the attic.
Yes.
Okay.
Weird, I know.
Okay.
You don't normally sleep in the
Kinda
attic,
creepy, but all right.
but he's a nice guy, and he's
Okay.
gonna let them stay in the attic. It's really nice. Well done, completely finished.
Okay.
TVs, you name it. So this group of 10 is going to go over to Mr. 10's house, but they are going to go in the attic.
Okay.
And so I'm going to draw that group of 10 all the way up here.
Oh.
Now, all I need to do to finish the problem is I need to count how many people are there in Mr. 10's house total. And I'm saying the whole house, including the attic. You can't skip the attic. So I have 3 10s plus another group of 10 would be 4. So I have a total of 4 10s and 2 1s, and so my final answer would be 42.
Wow. What a fun story.
I love that story. It's one of my faves.
Yes.
I'm going to see if we can't maybe practice our story a couple times with the problems that are down here.
Okay.
Now, you're going to notice that the 10s and 1s houses look a little bit different.
Yeah.
In fact, these boxes sitting above the number, that's the same thing as the attic in the story that I just told you.
Okay.
Okay? So anytime you see a box, you can leave it there on your paper, but you can think about that box as the attic.
Okay.
All right. So the first problem that we have is 46 plus 9.
Okay.
So if you remember, there is a section of our problem that we always start with. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, we always start by adding up our ones to see if we have to send any next door.
You got it. And I love your idea of drawing that little caret there so that we can see what the answer is. So 6 plus 9, I'm not going to use counting on for this one. In fact, I'm going to use a fact that I know it's similar. I know that 9 is really close to 6, and so I know that 10 plus 6 is 16. That means 9 plus 6 must be 15.
You're right.
So 9 plus 6 is 15, and I'm going to write that number right next to the problem because it's easier to take a look at it. All right. So, Mrs. Grant, there are 15 people in the one's house.
It's too many.
It's too many. Gosh, these parties are getting pretty big.
Yes.
Do you remember how many can stay in the one's house out of 15?
Well, you can only keep however many people are in your ones column.
So how many are we going to have down here?
You're going to keep your 5, the number that's in your ones place.
All right. And what about that group of 10?
You're going to kick that 1 up into the attic of our Mr. 10's house.
You got it. He only takes groups of 10, by the way, and they're only allowed to go in the attic. So that group of 10 comes over here, just like when we used to trade those numbers with our model.
It's still called regrouping.
It is still regrouping.
When you send a group of 10 over to Mr. 10's house, you just regrouped.
Yep.
If you have less than 10 and you don't have to send anybody next door, you did not have to regroup.
Nope. So am I done?
No, you got to add up all your 10s to write your answer in.
Yeah. We need to find out how many total people are staying with Mr. 10's. So we've got 1 in the attic, plus 4 on the second floor. So that's 5 altogether.
All right.
Now, I'm noticing this little yes/no thing at the bottom.
Yes.
It wants to know, did we regroup or not? Did we kick somebody into the attic or did we not?
We definitely did regroup because you sent a group of 10 people over to Mr. 10's attic.
You got it.
Yeah.
So our answer is going to be yes.
Yes.
All right, Mrs. Grant. Do you think you could do the second problem?
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
try it out.
Be
All right.
careful.
Okay.
All right.
So I know that I have to start by adding up all my ones to see if we can fit them in our house or if we need to send anybody next door.
Exactly.
So I'm going to draw my little arrow, and I'm going to add 7 plus 2, 7, 8, 9. I got 9. Well, look at that. That has nothing in the tens place. I
Nope.
didn't get to 10, so I don't have to send anybody over to Mr. 10's house.
Nope.
I kept my party kind of small this time.
Smart.
So
Mr. Ones is learning.
sometimes, okay, well, I'm going to start by placing my 9 friends in my own house and keeping them there. Now, in all the year that I taught second grade,
She makes me laugh.
I know, right? I often came upon students who would write a 1 in Mr. 10's attic even if they didn't need it, just because there's a box here.
Why would you do that?
Because they thought they had to put something in that box.
No, the party only has
No.
9 people.
No. So if you do not have more than 10, don't write anything in his attic. You keep it blank, okay? So it kind of makes it a lot easier because now you don't even have to add anything to the 5. It's 5 plus nothing, which stays 5. So no, I did not have to regroup. You won't have to regroup every time. Sometimes your ones column is going to be less than 10 and just makes life a little bit easier.
Yep.
So if when you add these two numbers together, you get something less than 10, don't just throw a number in here because you know what that makes it? It makes it 19.
Oh,
And that's not the same number.
That's not going to work out.
So we did not have to regroup on that one.
Awesome. All right, why don't we just make sure the backside looks similar before we end our video?
Right.
Because I think they could do the next 2 problems.
I think so too.
All right. On the back, we have even more practice. So it looks like the first problem is done for you, but I would love to see you still showing me what the answer is in the ones place.
Show that carrot. It was 13.
I definitely want to see those carrots written for every single time you add those ones. I also want you to make sure that you are circling yes or no, whether you regrouped. If someone went into the attic, if you had to fill in that box up here, that means you are circling yes. So we have 8 problems that look like that at the top of the page. And there is definitely a tricky question on here. We have 1 word problem. I know. We might have to make that a challenge question, Mrs. Grant. So we have 1 word problem where you have 22 kernels of corn and then you get 4 more. So this is an addition problem. So you can practice that same skill, but you will need to draw your own picture over here in order to get your answer. Okay, so you can do that. This, take a deep breath. This is a tricky question. We are going to make this a challenge question, so if it is frustrating to you and you just can't figure it out, that's okay. But if you want to challenge yourself to try and get a 4, I would love for you to try this problem. And I'll give you a couple little hints, okay? Yeah, hint number 1, this is the attic.
This is not the attic.
Hint number 2, there is no number that when you add it to 9, you will get a 2.
No.
I will give you another hint. You will need to put something in the attic. Should I give them one more hint?
The answer to that will have a 2 in the ones place. Yeah.
I was thinking if they were to draw a carrot here, there's going to be a 2 in the ones place of their answer. I think.
Yeah, that's right. They just have to figure out what goes here and what would I need to add to 9 in order to fill this guy.
And then that's not a challenge anymore. What would I need to put here?
I think it is. If
So,
they can get it from this, then go ahead and try it. I'm gonna erase it so you can see.
We kind of always put the same number here, plus 4 to equal 5, and come on,
We
try
look forward
it.
to see if you can figure it out based on all of the mumbo jumbo we just said right now.
Do well. Think hard. You got this.
We're not going to be giving you this in office hours either because it's challenged. You got to figure this one out on your own.
We gave you enough.
Yep.
Man, and they're super smart. So
Good luck.
They should be able to do it.